All right. Good evening, folks. Good evening. Welcome to Debate the News on this Thursday, the 6th day of March, 2025. We got a nice, exciting show. We're going to be speaking about, the measles outbreaks and anti-vaxxers and what their role has to do with it. So, with that being said, I am going to jump right into it, guys. Hey, do me a favor, folks. Let everyone know that we're live. Hey, if you guys are listening to us out in podcast land, if you're listening to us on iTunes, Apple, Spotify, Overcast, iHeart, TuneIn, or any other Pandora, any other platform, make sure you guys download the Chatter Social app. You guys can download the app either on the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store. Folks, join us live. And if you're listening to us in the audience, folks, make sure you guys are able to go up to the top, follow us, and make sure you guys download several episodes. Once again, hit the link at the top of the room, follow the podcast, download several episodes. Guys, let's get the show started. All right, good evening, folks. Welcome to Debate the News. I'm Jonathan Bing. Man, oh man, I'm sitting here with Daphyne, Christine. I am sitting here with everyone, each and every one of you guys. So we're ready to get started. We're excited to actually be here tonight. But, there's a lot of things happening in the news today, man, and a lot of great things happening in the news. As always, a lot of not so great things happening in the news. A second person has died with measles. And this second person is out of New Mexico. And it's the southwestern part of the United States. In Texas, there's been, 159 people have died so far. But before we jump into that, what I want to do is I want to jump into a couple of datelines that we have. And so, one second, who's that? Can you guys figure out who that is, please? Can you guys figure out who that is, please? So, with that, thank you guys. I appreciate you guys. So, all right. All right. So anyway, with that being said, what I want to do is I want to make sure that we jump right into it. I want to do a couple of the date lines. I want to go right to Storm. Storm, are you here, my friend?
I'm here, my man.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Well, happy March 6th to everybody. As we move closer one day into this presidency and this new administration, the breaking title is this the end of the Democratic Party as we know it? More and more breaks of party lines. First of all, Senator John Fetterman, probably one of the most intelligent and best dressed Democrats I have ever seen. He bucked his party this week, criticizing fellow Democrats for not standing for a 13-year-old cancer survivor, DJ Daniel, during President Trump's address in the joint session to Congress. He is very outspoken, and he's starting to sound more and more like a Republican and somebody who makes sense and who's logical. So we could have a flipped seat here if he keeps thinking the way he thinks, and I think he's finally come to his senses. On another note, Democratic governor of California, oh, we all know him as Gavin Newsom, or as we like to say Newsom, I should say it politically correct. He is now causing waves and more controversy as he's speaking out in his podcast that he does not agree with transgender athletes, transgender men competing with women. That's starting to cause a flurry and a stir. And on that note, our good friend Al Green, who decided he wanted to make some noise and disrupt President Trump during this joint session, has now been censured, and they're looking at possibly stripping away his assignments on oversight on his committees. So, as we're looking at the Democrat Party, more and more people seem to be approving of what Trump is doing, and more people seem to be condemning what the Democrats are or are not doing. On that note, when it comes to aviation, we had a nice female decided to strip down on a Southwest Airlines flight headed from Houston to Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport. And for 25 minutes, she was dancing and screaming and running up and down the aisle. Basically, no point to it. However, charges were not pressed. And on another note, United Airlines to Newark had to make an emergency landing. A Boeing 757 was experiencing a malfunction and safely made it to the ground. So we still don't know what's going on in the aviation industry. But man, I tell you, as we move into this Dateline, Jonathan, there's a lot more to talk about, and I know you're going to get to it as well. So let's get into Skald and see what he's got.
Absolutely, absolutely. Skull, man. Yeah. First of all, that woman running up and down that aisle, and no charges were filed. You said
No charges.
so.
John, she was hot. She was hot. That's why.
Was she? That's what I was wondering, Brian.
I gotta check. I gotta check the headlines.
No, I don't know that to be the case, but man, I would assume so. And we're very forgiving.
I would
go
have
right
got
ahead.
tonic set back. I would have got a gin and tonic
That's it.
back.
Go, Captain, go.
See, Brian keeps it real though. He keeps it real.
Blame Trump for that one. Love it.
Definitely would have got a gin and tonic set
See,
back.
that's DEI we can live with.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! What about no fly list? Was she put on a no fly list?
Heck no, she was like,
No,
get on the
frequent
plane. We're all
flyer.
excited. They're taking her
Frequent
off.
flyer.
Find out her return flight. Brian, can you find out her return flight for me?
It's a new way to fly, Jonathan. Just fly naked.
What are you gonna do
All
with
right,
this, guys?
Storm.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, thank you, Storm. Hey, Skull, are you there, my friend?
I'm here.
What do you have for us?
Okay. Good evening, folks. It is March 6th, 2025, and I have the Dateline here. We have some first news in the market. We have yet another day of a market sell off continuing and has been continuing. As of yesterday, we had given back all the gains since the inauguration of Donald J. Trump, and now we are starting to bleed out below the point that the stock market was at upon the bump it got when he was elected. So we're now starting to see some pretty real losses materialize for people on a yearly basis. Obviously, this is still early. This is a short term market move. It could just reverse, right? But for now, it looks like the sell off's continuing as talks of tariffs and trade wars continue to dominate the news cycle every single 24-hour period. And on that note, Donald Trump signed an executive order doing a carve out for the big three automakers who have gone and pleaded before the throne and asked for tariffs not to be applied to their automaking endeavors. And if you don't know a lot about automotive supply chains, they are incredibly complex, many different tiers, and they often have parts going even back and forth across international borders. And potentially, they could be hit by, you could have an individual vehicle get hit with this tariff multiple times, right, as the parts going back and forth. So there's a carve out there. There's also a carve out on the goods that is part of the US MCA, which is the trade agreement Trump signed to replace NAFTA. It would be very ironic for him to sanction the exact countries he made a trade agreement with, but this is where we're at. He's now exempting at least the goods he made the trade agreement on in his first term. So, we'll see what happens from there, right? And even in his address while signing these agreements, he said there's going to be short term pain. So, this
A
is
lot
just
going
the
on,
economic
Skull.
reality of the day. Now, moving on to some of the other news that we got going on, we've got 70,000 people that are going to potentially be fired from the Veteran Affairs Office. Right now, the Veteran Affairs was set up many years ago, and by Lincoln is their motto, which is to care for those who have borne the battle, for their widows, and for their orphans. However, we seem to care a little less about our veterans these days and care a little bit more about that bottom line. So up to 70,000 members of the
Well,
Veteran Affairs Office is on
it's
the
the
chopping
admin.
block.
It's the admin,
And
not the
so,
veterans.
up next, Benstock, you can argue with me, but this is just the news, buddy. And then up next, we've laid off 7,000 IRS agents. There is rumors that there are going to be an additional 45,000 more. These is from internal memos being passed all around. Also,
Woohoo!
Trump is
Woohoo!
now taking an audience. An audience with the king costs you $1 million a plate. That's right. If you're a businessman and you want to have dinner with Trump, it costs you $1 million to throw yourself upon his mercy and get a seat in his court. I don't even know what to say to
Where,
that.
where did
And
the money
moving
go?
on,
Why
Well,
don't you tell?
Miss one second, one second. It was a Dateline. It's a Dateline. Go ahead.
and well, that's great. Yeah, it goes to like his PAC slush fund, buddy.
Yeah.
So probably his pocket. I don't know. Anyway, so moving on from there, we have the measles outbreak, guys. This is very serious. As Storm was saying, there's been another person passing away. And this is preventable. We have a measles vaccine. We've had it for years. We've had it for decades. It provides permanent sterilizing immunity, lifetime immunity to measles. It's not like a flu vaccine or a COVID vaccine. This is the kind of thing you get once and then you never get measles. It's
So you're
devastating
saying
to
this will
see.
No,
It's not
Devastating to
never.
see.
It's not
And
never.
it's just devastating to see this happening, devastating to see the administration go for this. And from an economics point of view, I don't know how an insurance company would insure someone whose kids are unvaccinated because the cost of getting the disease is so great and the cost of the vaccines is like $100. It's just such a crazy risk reward. I'm talking economics here, not health, but it's just wild to me. I'm not a doctor, but from an economic standpoint, the return on investment in vaccines is massive. Some economists estimate it at 44 times, 4,400% lifetime return on investment for being vaccinated because of the medical incidences you won't experience. Anyway, I land, unlike some of our planes, because of the aviation incidents.
Boom. Breaking news, Jonathan. I just heard word Zelensky was spotted at the Men's Warehouse because European talks have fallen through. He only secured $2 billion in aid, and it looks like he's wanting to come begging back to the White House. So he might come correct this time.
Storm. Let me just say this right here. The man shouldn't have to wear a suit. Let's. I don't want to go into that, but he shouldn't have to wear a suit. But I think he's at war. We never said anything about anyone else. Winston Churchill showed up in overalls when he was at war, and he came to the White House. So that's something that has that's been a time honored tradition for many. When they show up either in a military garb or they show up, the way they show up. So hopefully that's not what the requirement is. But if he has to put on a costume, he put on a costume, maybe something cheaper than the other guy was wearing. But with that being said, hey guys, I want to jump in. I want to say first of all, Storm guys. I mean Storm, Jim. I mean Skull is actually doing a debate the news business. Stocks and crypto is what it's going to be. Stocks and crypto,
Right.
and that's going to be done each weekday, and it's going to start at 11 a.m. And it's going to run about an hour and a half, 2 hours. And so that is going to be done every weekday. Skull, he's an economist. So debate the news, business, stocks, and crypto will be up every day. So you guys are enjoying that. We also had our first episode of Debate the News Local. It was local news, and that
Woo!
was yeah, it was actually quite fun.
It's
We had to
amazing.
be, and Madeline was hosting that today. So we got lots of great things happening here in debate the news. It was really fun. So let's move on to this something that's not so fun because
Don't forget about Adrian Barker too. She gets a special shout out
Adrian
today.
Barker,
She rocks it out hard. So
Adrian Barker was a star, folks. Adrian
superstar.
Barker, and guys, and debate the news local. I love it. I prefer that
I think we all
platform.
do.
Yeah, I prefer that over this debate the news. I'm sorry, I gotta say it because it's more fun. We have people
Yes.
coming in taking your head off. Do you understand, Daphne? They're not coming in and take your head
It's
off.
got heart to it. Like that's what I love. Is like when we can all a little bit more love in between the. I like all of it.
Yeah, so
Anyway,
yeah, you're able to talk about things that's happening locally in your area and make everyone aware of that. So that's gonna be a huge podcast for us, as well as it's gonna be a huge room here on Chatter because it was fun listening to some of those stories as people told us about the local stories, and we're talking about the Turkey Testicle Festival.
that from my hometown, outside of Chicago, Illinois, and yeah, I told Jonathan about that years ago. Excuse me, it's called the Turkey Testicle Festival. And yes, Illinoisans really do have a festival in the fall, and they fry the. I don't know what they are exactly. I've
It's
never
turkey
asked, but anyway,
testicles.
it's a
It's
big
turkey
thing.
testicles.
Is
You ate turkey
it?
testicles.
Is
Yes,
it?
you
I
ate
mean,
turkey testicles. Just admit you ate turkey testicles.
have you
Okay.
looked under the feathers, John? I don't know. You guys, like, that's a debate. Anyway, let's get back to business. But that's the fun of it. Like, there's a lot of things that go in, like, into hometowns. You know what I mean? Just the stories and where did it come from and what the hell is going on and what the hell are you talking about? And I think those are the fun stories that I like to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you guys get a chance, that usually goes from starts at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on the Chatter Social app, guys. And for you guys that's listening out there, and whether it's TuneIn or Apple, wherever you guys are listening, you guys will start hearing those episodes sometime next week. Right now, as we are iron out the kinks. If you guys want to get a early preview of it, come join the Chatter Social app, and you guys can come join those rooms live. Just bring some local articles with you guys, and just be ready to debate the news. So, with that being said, Dr. Catherine is here. Dr. Catherine, right now, it appears that we have a measles outbreak down in the southwestern portion of the United States, and other areas in the United States as well. Because from what I understand, New Jersey's been hit, Washington's been hit, but and there's a lot of unvaccinated people getting the measles. Um, and so my question I have for you, and they said the second person have been confirmed to have died with the measles. Okay, so my question to you, Doctor Catherine, is because I thought this was eradicated a long time ago, and so I'm going to toss it over to you because maybe you can help us understand how can something go from eradicated to popping back up, because eradicated, typically you think that it's gone. How is
It
it
was
that
gone. Thanks, Jonathan.
yep.
25 years ago, measles was declared eradicated in the United States, and that's when United States had an average measles, mumps, rubella vaccination
Get
rate
up
of
here, Dr. Catherine. Get up
greater
here.
than 95%. Um, I'm not. Let me just talk,
Okay,
okay?
go
And
ahead.
so, so that is a set of circumstances, right? When you have enough people vaccinated, even if you had one unvaccinated person within that community, remember, viruses need a person to infect, and they will basically, the virus will take over and replicate in your body, and then it only stays alive if it passes to another person. So you can't pass a virus to someone who's vaccinated because they will fight the infection. If you've had two MMR vaccines, you're 97% protected. And so it's a very effective vaccine. We start vaccinating most children at the age of 1 for the measles, mumps, and rubella. But people who are traveling with their babies internationally or going to an area of low vaccination, um, we worry about those babies because they're unvaccinated. When they're breastfed by their mothers who have immune protection, they can get some immune protection, but they're still vulnerable. And we see measles actually causing a lot of trouble for young people. And in 1,000 children, you'll probably have to hospitalize about 200 of them if we have an outbreak of 1,000 children, and one, two, or even three of those children could die. So these are preventable infections. The title of the room is Are Anti-Vaxxers Endangering the USA? The answer is no. This is only a problem if you're unvaccinated, and most Americans are vaccinated. If you choose to be unvaccinated and you live in a community that has a vaccination rate greater than 95%, you're probably protected. But if you're traveling internationally, if you're traveling from the state to state, this is a very contagious virus. So if someone has measles, they can be pretty contagious, and the virus can live for up to 2 hours on surfaces. So it's super contagious. When people are traveling from state to state, we're going to be seeing these clusters of outbreaks, but you're not to be concerned if you're vaccinated.
Yeah, but the and I appreciate that about you said no, but I think the messaging that they're putting out right now. it's pretty darn dangerous. The risk I think that they have, but I think the messaging that's being put out. More and more people are not vaccinating, getting vaccinated or vaccinating their children because they believe that vaccination has something to do with autism. All right, so when I hear that, Dr. Catherine, not only do I hear that, in these rooms, I hear that right now at the highest levels of our government. So, I think the information that they put out may be dangerous. That's just me. You're the medical professional, so I'm not going to dispute what you say because I think you have not just the knowledge but the experience. Wow. So, anyone disagree with Dr. Catherine about anything about getting vaccinated or the fact that they aren't a danger? Anyone wants to jump in on Dr.
Yeah,
Catherine?
I want to jump in with a couple of points.
Yes, let's do it, Andy.
The MMR vaccine was outlawed in Japan. Have to ask yourself why. You also have to ask yourself why, since 1988, over 10,000 injuries were caused by vaccines, according to theirs. That's the reporting system for people who get injured. It's a very difficult thing to report. You have to do it within 12 months. Most people don't realize or put it together. Maybe the vaccine caused the injury. But our government has given out more than $5 billion for vaccine injuries. So when I hear safe and effective for everybody, I have to pause because the statistics don't lie. It's not safe and effective for everybody. And again, Japan outlawed this because to have that 3-in-1 shot is really too much for most human bodies to take. I yield my mic.
So
All right.
Japan just actually separates it. So they don't give you the MMR all as one. They break it up. So they're giving their kids more shots. They separate the measles and the rubella vaccines, but they're still vaccinating people. So let's get the facts straight.
I
Ooh.
just
But
said
when you
I
said
think
like,
I just said that. We don't
yeah, I
break them
mean,
up. And as a result of not breaking up, I could give you personal testimony to what, but the point is, we don't break them up. We've given out $5 billion to vaccine people who could prove they've been vaccine injured. Most people don't even know there's a reporting system, so it's very underreported. And again, to say that we solved this problem, how many people die of measles, by the way? I had it, I didn't die. I never got vaccinated for it. I
You're the
had it.
measles? You're the measles?
Yeah, I had the measles. Of course I did when I was a young boy. And the chicken pox. So not everybody who gets these diseases die, just like not everybody gets COVID and dies. Not everybody who gets AIDS and dies. People do die though.
I don't think
People with weak immune systems die. People die all the time. But to just say that this is safe and effective when the statistics don't lie is to me is irresponsible. Is it safe? Oh, maybe. Is it effective? Maybe. But to say there's no risk and this will end measles is beyond is really beyond my ability to comprehend.
Dev, you about to jump in there? You about to say something? Because I'm listening. Um, you know, people die every year. People die every year drinking Coca Cola, and that's safe and effective. Okay, and they can have a reaction. So your logic that you just used, it just threw me for a loop. Just because some people have a reaction to it, and some people may die, and you never want to see that. But our bodies react differently, just like some people, when it comes to legumes, the peanut allergy, it's most people, it's not a problem. But so just because so when you're saying that, that doesn't mean that peanuts aren't safe and effective. I mean, safe and good, they're safe and good. But some people just have a reaction to it.
no,
So
before I responded, Jonathan, I wanted to say this. I wanted to check it out and make sure that I was right. You can, just like I did with my children, you can, here in the United States, anyone can break up any MMRs. It's just up to you and your physician. So it's offered both ways, but you can take it either way. And that was your point, right, Andy?
Andy stayed quiet.
No,
Andy,
my point was No, I'm not going to dispute
Yeah,
that.
I
Hold
thought
on,
it.
I'm not going to
I
dispute
was just
that it's not offered in a three-way split. I'm not going to dispute that. What I'm saying is most people take the 3-in-1 shot, and that's not that to me is dangerous, has danger, has injured people. So the fact that we also
yeah.
Fruit Loops with high fructose corn syrup, and that's all poison. We offer it, but that doesn't make it smart or healthy. We offer a lot of things in our country because it's capitalism and it's a free market. And if you want to drink Coca-Cola and sugar sodas, if you want to take your shots, you should be able to. I'm not
It's not
disputing
wrong.
that these should be available, but I think the schedule, the childhood schedule, is so it's really unbelievable.
It's
I think
convenient
from
so that
zero
people
to
choose
18
It's a
it.
years
lot.
old,
Ali, mute up, please. Don't
I
let's not
believe from
speak while you're
zero to
speaking.
18 years old, you take a total of 72 shots to make up the 13 or 14 actual vaccines that you get because some are administered in 3-4 doses. I'm pretty sure I'm right on that one. So from womb to 18, we are putting 72 needles in the arms of people in California, Oregon, the states that have this vaccine schedule. And why in 1986 there were 3 vaccines? Don't we know more about health, vitamins, nutrition, exercise? Shouldn't we be taking less of these drugs? I mean, I'm sorry,
Have you heard
vaccine's
of
not a drug.
Have you heard of Streptococcus
So
pneumo? Have you heard of Haemophilus influenza? These are all vaccines that are saving children's lives, that are reducing hospitalizations and pediatric deaths. And that's why there are more vaccines. Andy, I have a question. Do you have children?
I'm not going to discuss my family on a recorded show.
Oh, okay. I was just curious if you have children that are vaccinated. And if you do have children that are vaccinated, did you take them for their vaccines? Because if you've ever gone to the pediatrician and had your child checked out, the pediatrician recommends the vaccines because they don't want to see your child sick with a fever that is having a fever and then can't keep down their fluids. And then they can't keep down their fluids, so they get dehydrated. And then they stop making urine. And then the fever gets so high that they can't get antibiotics. And then they're coughing. And then they have pneumonia. And then they have ear infections. And then they're hospitalized. And then as a parent, it is heartbreaking when your child is sick with a fever and not eating. It is devastating. And these are preventable illnesses. It's also preventing all of these healthcare spending. I mean, the emergency department is full of people coming in because their kids have fevers and ear infections. Before we had these vaccines, the kids didn't just have ear infections, they had meningitis. They had, they were getting deaf, they had complications of these infections. So the goal is to reduce the suffering of children. And yes, maybe you suffered through chickenpox. Maybe you survived measles. I mean, some people have survived polio, but there's a lot of people who didn't too. And so until you've been on the front lines and actually been there, taking care of sick children, admitting them to the ICU, doing lumbar punctures on them, talking to their parents and family members, being there when they're crying and they're scared, and it takes 3 or 4 nurses to get an IV and a little baby. I think you should maybe mute your mic.
Ooh, damn. Wow, Dr. Catherine. Oh, yeah, yeah. But Andy, let me fact check you. Uh, between the age of infant and 19, 18, they take 17 and 19 shots, and they have the schedule out infancy to I'm not gonna read all this because you guys laugh at me trying to read it. This Tirah, tetanus, and pertussis. What's that, Doctor? Call it
You got it.
polio,
Wolf and Golf.
polio,
Yep.
measles, mumps, rubella. That's one. Then they have varicella, chickenpox, hepatitis B, and phenococcal, conjunctional, whatever conjugate, whatever that is, and rotavirus. That's 0 to 18 months.
Mhm.
2 to 11, you have the DTAP, polio, MMR, the varicella. Then you have Hep A. Yeah, human papillitis, pepper.
Papilloma.
Yeah,
Mhm.
virus exactly. And what is that? Meningococ.
Meningococcal
Middlecock or whatever it is. That
Meningococcal.
yeah, whatever it
meningococcal.
is. That's 2 to 11, and adolescents 12 to 18. You have the Tdap, which is tetanus, this is the diphtheria and pertussis. Then you have the HPV. You have that meningococcal, whatever B again, the influenza, and it was an annual, and then you have COVID-19 if eligible. So Andy, you said there was 70 something
And don't forget
shots.
your flu shot annually.
Yeah, so I said that, but Andy, you said there's 79 shots. You're way off, my friend. You're
No,
way
I
off.
said, I think, that's what I said. I think in total, to make up the entire vaccine schedule for 1 year in the womb to coming out of the womb up to
No.
18 years old, there's a
Oh,
total of, I thought, 72 shots to complete the entire schedule. I didn't hear you say vitamin K. That comes out, that's a shot that happens within 30 seconds
That,
of your life.
that's
And
not a vaccine shot, bro. You said
oh yeah,
vaccines.
it is. Oh yeah, it is. Oh,
Dr.
what do you
Catherine,
think? It's vitamin
vitamin
K?
B.
What do you think? It's a shot of vitamin K? Vitamin
It
A? What
is
do
a
you?
shot of vitamin K because it's related to clotting factors that babies don't have. What do you want your little baby to bleed to death to? Or the babies you don't have because you won't tell us if you're a parent or not? Because you don't want to admit on mic that, yes, of course you vaccinated your children
Of course you
because
did.
of course you did. They couldn't go to school
My
if they
God, the
didn't.
fucking fear mongering in here tonight. You guys are
No,
fucking ridiculous.
Yeah,
I,
that's no kidding.
of course, they're
No,
vaccinated.
no
Of
one. No, one second.
course
One
they
second.
I
One
don't want
second.
anyone
No,
scared.
there's no way they aren't vaccinated because 90.8% of Americans are vaccinated against MMR. The 319 out of 350 million Americans are vaccinated. And according to that own vaccine accident registry, only 168 cases have been classified as severe from MMR vaccines. That means it's a 1 in 2 million chance, roughly, for having a complication from getting this vaccine. And kids are literally dying in Texas because of this kind of misinformation. Boggles my mind.
Yeah, Rob. You said we're fair mongering. No one said do this or whatever. We're talking about the schedule. So how's that fair mongering? Just speaking about the schedule. Is Rob there? Yeah, guys, listen to me. We have not look. We only thing we've spoken about so far is the schedule. That's what we spoke
Oh
about. We
no,
have
no, no, no! The babies are bleeding to death. Listen, my son is not vaccinated since birth. He has not had one. The kid has never gotten sick in 15 fucking years. My new baby, no shots. You don't need to. Are you kidding me? You don't need to give an infant an Hep B shot. Get the fuck out of here with this bullshit. This is bullshit. Listen,
yeah,
I'm
no.
not anti-vax, but there's plenty of fucking evidence out there that for me, it's not worth the gamble. It's not worth the gamble that, yeah, maybe this shot will hurt my child. Maybe it won't. It's not enough of a gamble. I've already gone through 15 years of a child that's never been vaccinated once, and he's never been sick. He's the healthiest fucking kid out of all the kids in his class.
But Rob,
When everybody was out with COVID, he was the only one that didn't get COVID in his entire class. So you know what? The fear mongering is fucking bullshit. Oh, the poor babies are gonna bleed to death. Fuck off with that shit.
okay, yeah, Hep V, Hep B, Hep B isn't a shot for kids. Oh yeah, it is infant. Go ahead.
Yes, it
It is.
fucking
Let me,
is.
It
okay,
is.
let
I
me
just saw it. I
explain
just
Yes,
saw
it
it.
Hep B.
fucking is. You don't know what the
I just
fuck you're
no no
Let's,
talking
no.
about.
One mic, bro.
Well,
I
what,
just said I
what,
just corrected myself and said yes, it is. I saw Hep A and I saw Hep B. So you calm down, Rob, because I did correct myself.
Calm down.
okay, so from a public health perspective, the
He
reason
gets
that
so
Hep B
excited.
is offered to newborns, because it's true, you only get hepatitis B if you are sharing needles, sharing blood, having sex. So of course your newborn baby,
So
unless
why
the
the fuck does
mother,
an infant need it?
Patriot,
And why do they
I'm
push it so
actually
hard? And
trying to
I just went
explain
through
this
this.
to you. You actually didn't take the
It's
moment to
big
just
pharma. That's why, Patriot and
no,
Rob.
actually, what it is that when
Here we
you are
go.
working in neighborhoods where you are taking care
This is
of
fucking gay. Don't
teenage,
fucking mute me.
No one's
Guys,
muting
one,
you,
1 second,
Jude.
guys. Don't mute him yet. Don't mute him. He hasn't said anything that warrants being muted for, guys.
So
You know what?
that's a
Fuck this faggot ass shit. Who's gonna fucking mute me?
Dr. Carson,
All right,
dude.
that's bullshit, man. He used the word faggot.
Oh
So did
my
Jude
god, are
just
we gonna
now.
cry over the word faggot? Faggot?
Not the F word.
Now it's time to remove him from the room, as we previously
Well, you got to
discussed.
remove the other guy too
Let's move
because
on.
he
Let's move
said
on.
it.
Let's move on. Let's move on. Let's move on. Let's go. All right, who wants to
okay.
jump in?
So
We're talking
just
about the vaccines,
briefly,
guys.
if I could, about
Dr.
hepatitis B vaccine.
Catherine,
It's true, you can delay that vaccine for your children if you choose to, and many people do. The reason that public health officials recommend it is that it is a 3-part series, and many people who have babies at the hospital, they don't always come for their follow-ups. They don't always come for their newborn visits. So it- for many of us, we don't miss an appointment to have our babies checked and see how they're growing and make sure everything's healthy with them. But a lot of people who don't have transportation, don't have education, don't have adequate health insurance, are teenage parents, have, a lot of socioeconomic issues. They aren't following up diligently and getting vaccinated. And then collectively, we are seeing, unfortunately, later in life, these babies are getting hepatitis B because they're sexually active, because they have higher risks. And hepatitis B can cause hepatitis, it can cause cancer, and you can die when your liver doesn't work very quickly. And again, that's a preventable infection. So that's why we do it that way.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Can I say something real
Absolutely.
quick?
Go ahead.
Let's hear it, Andrew.
Let me tell you what's more of a danger to your kids than having them not get certain vaccines. The damn woke mind virus telling your little boy he can be a girl, telling your little girl she can be a boy, and all that stupid fucking nonsense. And giving them all this and their diet, just giving them a whole bunch of sugar, making them pre-diabetic, not making sure they're getting enough exercise, not reading to them. That's more of a danger to your kid than these vaccines when we've got basic herd immunity. So,
So,
I mean,
so
I could
Andrew,
just drop the mic there. Like,
Andrew, hey, are you for the vaccines or are you against the vaccines? I'm trying to figure
you know,
this
my
out.
children are getting vaccines. They didn't get the Hep B one.
Okay.
And they sure as fuck don't get flu shots, which are basically worthless. It's not a vaccine. They don't prevent contraction or the spread, and they sure as hell did not get a COVID shot. It's not a vaccine.
So, which ones did they get?
The MMR ones. Let me see. Just the ones that they have to go to school in the public schools here in Alabama.
So, what was your
Hep B
deciding
is not one of
factor?
them. What's that?
What's your deciding factor?
I mean, I
Uh,
got the same ones, so I didn't have a problem with it. It didn't cause any problems with me.
look, I'm gonna tell you, if I have children or when any child of mine, they getting vaccinated. I'm sorry, they're getting
That's
vaccinated,
fine.
guys.
But you know what? I tell you what. When it comes to the COVID shot, you might really fucking think about that. And same thing with the flu shot.
No, not talking about. I don't do the COVID
But
shots. I don't do
yeah, yeah,
COVID
yeah,
shots.
exactly.
Yeah.
But the other
Well,
vaccines, I mean, I personally don't have a problem with them.
yeah, yeah. Once again, guys, we are living a lot longer as a result of vaccines. I'm sorry. All those childhood diseases that used to take us out. I mean, we were animals. Okay, we're living a lot longer. People's hearts are starting to fail. Because they're living longer.
Yeah,
Whatever.
but
So
I'm telling you, it's more important to make sure your kids get outside, off the screens, are avid readers, eat healthy, get plenty of exercise, and have good parents than to worry about the stupid fucking vaccines. Just teach them a great hygiene, and you know what? The body takes care of itself and you can build up the immune system, and they'll be fine. Get them some vitamin
And to
C.
brush your teeth, you are a good dog.
You know what I mean? Give them a bath. I mean, it's not that hard. Basic hygiene.
Yeah,
Great
basic.
contribution.
One second, guys, and once again, 100%. Andrew, you didn't say anything. I can disagree. I can't disagree with anything you said, man. Because once again, I think you're not advocating not to be vaccinated. You know, you're saying you got vaccinated and you're fine. I got vaccinated. I'm fine. You know, I think it's up to the parents what they should do. But when people are saying that vaccines are the reason, you know, these I'm talking about these childhood schedules that we've had forever. You know, we're living a very long time. We're living much longer. Every generation we've lived long. COVID threw a little wrench in that right there, but for the most part, mankind we've lived longer and longer and longer.
Yeah.
You know,
Listen,
and
Jonathan,
so
I'm glad to hear you say what you just said because it is up to the parent and for the government, especially, to force a parent to inject their children with shit that they have that they're conscientious objectors in, like in Patriot Rob's case, he should not be forced to put anything in his own children for them
no,
to be able, you know what I mean? So, and he should not be looked down upon. No one should fuck with
no,
him or his family or his kids.
no. I don't think you know. No one should. Some schools require.
And no one should try to shame him for it. That's
No, no,
bullshit.
no, no, no. I think once again, but here's the thing. In the same token, if that's a requirement to attend the school district, you know that's and there's no religious
Yeah.
exemption,
Here's the thing.
then
Right.
no, wait, 1 second, I'm almost done.
Okay. Okay.
You can't complain if you're not allowed to go in that school district if that's what the requirements are.
That's
Because like I said, I grew up okay in an era where we used to line up in school and take our vaccines, okay? Or they used to have a city hall. We go down to city hall, you line up, you take your shot, and you keep it moving. Get a lump of sugar and you keep it moving, okay? So, and I didn't know what the hell I was taking. And
yeah.
my mother, God bless her soul, with a fourth grade education, I know she didn't know what the hell I was taking either. They just told her it was good. I'm still here, you know,
Well, here's
and
the
I
thing.
We
You
used to
know,
smoke in
if the
restaurants.
was
vaccines
that.
work so well, then your children who are vaxxed, what are you afraid of? It's
What
not
you
your
say?
children who are at risk. If you think they work so well, if your kids are vaccinated or shot up with the vaccines, then what do you have to be afraid of? Other kids who aren't getting it and your kids won't because they have the vaccine? It doesn't make any sense.
That's a good point, Daph. What were you saying, Daph?
Doesn't make any fucking sense.
Oh no, and it is a good point. I had just what you had said. I just made mention that yeah. I mean, back in the day, though, I who knew what the government. We used to smoke in restaurants. That's what I was saying. You know, it was crazy back then. Pregnant mothers used to smoke, and it was okay. They used to tell them all kinds of stuff. So
We used to
It,
smoke
The
on planes,
shot and the
Daphne,
COVID
I
shot are different.
know the ashtrays are still there, guys. Don't
and they
use
never
them.
had a
Don't vape
Surgeon General
either.
warning on the pack of cigarettes when they came out. Tobacco was the end thing. There you go. Mic
you
drop.
know,
But if you
guys.
live in California, I got cancer labels on my nail polish. For God's sake, just saying.
So, guys, and I don't know. I think if you're 58 years old, you know, 57, 58 years old, you look at someone, they have that big, Dr. Catherine, with that big, that scar on their arm. It seems like everyone that big circle thing on their arm. Can you explain
It's
that? Because
smallpox.
at a certain age, everyone, like older people, for the most part, you look at them, they had that circle thing on their arm. Can you guys explain what that is? Anyone?
That
Is
was
Dr.
polio. And again, we eradicated polio. So guess what? You don't have to be vaccinated for polio in this country.
That's
So
right.
see how we're eliminating some vaccines when we eradicate some diseases? There you go.
So
But that's another
that
reason
big hold on one
why.
second. One more
Okay.
second. So that big scar on their arm, that was a polio. Because I always looked at it, I thought it was like it scared the hell out of me because I thought they
You
had a
wouldn't
needle.
think it was
They had
polio.
like 8 or 9 needles around it, and they
It was
punched it all
really
in at one
big.
time.
Wasn't
Small
that the BCG vaccination?
I thought it was smallpox.
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 Okay.
Dr. Catherine.
Well, anyway, whichever one it was, we've eradicated it. So that's why we're not all walking around with those things. Sorry if I misspoke. I'm a little distracted taking care of real patients instead
No,
of you
you're
boneheads.
phenomenal. You're
The,
phenomenal, Dr.
the
Catherine. Thank
polio
you for all the
vaccine
knowledge
is
you
no
give us.
longer on the vaccine childhood schedule. That's what Dr. Catherine just said.
What was that?
No, I think she meant smallpox, bro. Because polio made a resurgence in Gaza
Yes.
because of the terrible war
I
crimes
know this.
committed by the
I'm just.
Israelis.
She
And
said we eradicated polio. It's not on the schedule. That's what she said.
No. Listen, she just said she's doing
That's what she
something
said.
else.
We, you know, everybody,
No, Andy, but you
everybody.
got it. But did you not hear the other thing she said? I mean, like, you can't just take one thing and not the other, sir. Come on, let's keep it.
No,
Andy, bro, you just repped for like a 1 in 2 million chance of something going wrong for like a 1 in 5 chance of kids being hospitalized. Like, I think like some math is in order. Let's just move on
well,
and like try
only
to.
only that's true if it's not your kid, I guess. You know, I mean, let me ask you a question. If I gave penicillin, and I'll use Jonathan Bing's example, and peanuts to everybody in America, would some people die? Yes or no? I yield my
Well,
mic.
actually, if you gave people peanuts after getting their vaccines, they would not develop a peanut allergy. So we wouldn't have that problem. Interesting that you chose that as your stand in straw man argument, because that just goes to show how little you know about vaccines, really, to be honest.
So you ignored the penicillin. So if I gave everybody in America penicillin, would some people die? It's a simple yes or no question.
Yes.
Okay. So it's not logical to say if you give this MMR vaccine to every human baby in America, some people aren't going to have problems. Period. That's all I've said. And there is a VAERS report says they handed out $5 billion since 1988 covering those injuries. So if it was your kid, you might think differently. You might have a pause. If it was your second kid that got injured after a vaccine, you might feel differently after a third. You know, to call people anti-vax, there's no such word. That's propaganda. There's no such club. There's no dues. There's no membership. There's no president. Anti-vax is a media-driven term, and people who become anti-vax are usually people who brought their kids to get vaccine. They got injured, and now they researched it. Go read a book, Turtles All the Way Down. It's a fascinating book written before COVID. So there's not mention of COVID-19 vaccine in the book. It was written actually in Hebrew, translated into English about 2 years later. The two authors are anonymous. There's 315 pages of data, all the reports that they referred to. They give it all that information to. And I read this book. It opened my eyes. It's another opinion. But just to say something is definite and that's the way it is, it's good for everybody, to me is nonsensical. People do get injured for you're putting a needle in your arm and you're injecting something into yourself. And that
Andy,
should be a pause. That should make you pause every time you do it. I'm assuming nobody in the room shoots heroin.
Andy,
Andy.
if I follow your argument, if I uh, Andy, if I follow your argument, then as you're saying that, I'm thinking we build like about how many million vehicles every year, and some of them we get into an accident. Does it mean that we'll stop building vehicles then?
No, but you should know the risk. And right, that's a great example. No, we shouldn't stop driving, but you should know your risk. I don't think the risk for injecting something in my body that I can't research the ingredients in makes me take a pause. I'm very well aware when I'm going 55 to 75 miles down the highway, a bee comes in my window, stings me, I hit it, I lose control, I'm dead. That it happens, you know what I mean? There's an inherent risk to life. So that's maybe I that's a choice I choose to. I also go on planes a lot. And we've had a lot of issues with planes lately, but it's a choice. The vaccine or injecting something into your body, this is also a choice.
Yeah.
So I've gone ahead and posted the ingredients for every vaccine, which are publicly listed. So I'm gonna post that in the chat because, like,
And
I
I'm not
don't
a
even know.
doctor and
I
I
don't even
can't
know what we're. I don't
understand.
even know what we're arguing at this point. Like, we're arguing some sort of
Yeah, no,
theoretical.
Argue. There's no
What if
reason to
the one
argue.
in 2 million happens? Like, oh my God, what if my kid gets struck by lightning? Like, yeah, that would suck, bro. I'm sorry. Like, what if you
Well,
have
Skald,
the one
let
in
me tell you
five
what we're
chance of being
arguing here.
hospitalized
There's
after measles, bro?
Let
One
me
in
tell you what
there's
we're
five.
arguing. The argument is
because
we've had full faith in the
nobody's
medical
mandating
system.
lightning bolts. By the way, Storm.
What's
Hi,
up?
Grant.
No one's. Hey, Daphne. Nobody's mandating lightning bolts.
Exactly right.
I
So
like
Skull,
the way these guys compare this to getting hit by lightning.
or driving and dying. So you have to understand that the medical community doesn't regulate driving and they don't regulate lightning bolts. What they regulate are vaccines and shots that are supposed to be safe. Are there risks? Yes. What we saw in 2021 was just an absolute bottom dropout of trust and credibility in our medical and science field because we were told one thing and guaranteed it, and now we're starting to realize the effects of what was a lie and a cover up. And you can't deny that there were a ton of vax injuries. And we still now have a measles outbreak. And Jonathan, I'm in full agreement with you. It's like, hey, why don't we trust vaccines? Well, if we can't trust, the CDC, or we can't trust our vaccines, why are we going to want to see this measles outbreak and then trust them now when it was supposed to be eradicated or next to extinct? That's a big issue that we have as parents and also Americans. I'll finish up there.
And maybe that was the game right there. Destroy the trust of the American people with one vaccine so that when you need the good ones, they won't trust you the second time and it'll be even more damaging.
Yeah, but RFK pretty much.
For at least for those people that want to, reduce the world population. That could be the game agenda.
So, Grant, according to Dr. Catherine, unvaccinated are at a big risk. Are your kids vaccinated?
My kids have never been stuck with anything. No vaccines. And if I could go back and get rid of the ones that I had when I was a kid, I would too. But unlike a bee sting in me or a lightning bolt, I don't have a choice in a lightning bolt. But it's kind of hard to undo the injection and get the vaccine out of your body once it's there.
Mhm.
It'd be cool, by the way, it'd be cool if it worked, but it doesn't.
Oh, there's more than that. You're right, Grant.
So once again, first and foremost, RFK has recommended that they do get vaccinated for the measles. All right, and he said it's actually something that is good for the community, and so and a lot of anti-vaxxers are up in arms because he's quote he was the number one anti-vaxxer. Now he's recommending vaccination. So that I think that speaks volumes. That someone that is quote unquote so anti-vax, when the shit hit the fan, he says, it's. I think it's the thing. It's the best thing for the community. Essentially is what he's saying. So and
As long as they're
so
not mandatory.
now, but once again, here we are. We got people saying that vax are bad, and now when he's in a position of authority and this shit is happening and his outbreaks going, and largely due in part to his advocating, the vaccines be that they put that you don't do the vaccines. When the shit hit the fan, he's now advocating that you do take the
He didn't. He
vaccines.
didn't say. He didn't say it was the best thing for the community. Where'd you get that?
He did. He says for the. He said he spoke to the community. Yeah, he did. He says
But you
he's
just said that he said it was the best thing for the
yeah.
community. He's never said that.
One second, he said something, Grant. I read it a few days ago. I'll pull it back up, okay, because I don't keep that fresh in my head. But yeah, I'll read his exact release. Okay, I have no problem with that. So okay, all right, and
Hey, yo,
so
Jonathan.
someone else has it.
No, 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 no.
Go ahead,
I was
Louis.
gonna buy you. I was gonna buy you some time.
Go ahead, Louis. While I'm
Thank
doing
you,
this.
Luis, Australia.
You got it. So this is Luis. Listen. When it comes to the COVID vaccine, I hear you guys, right? I feel like I was kind of enticed into taking it. I'll never take another one again. Just not down for it. But when it comes to vaccines as a whole, Look, I hear people's contentions and natural inclinations to kind of want to avoid them. Feel like it's a very aggressive schedule, especially for kids. I'm not going to knock you for that. I'm just not, right? You have your feelings, you have your emotions. But for those of us, right, whose first flinch reaction or gut reaction is like, well, I don't know what's in them. Well, now I got to start questioning you as a whole, right? Because I very much doubt that we're picking up the foods that we eat on a day-to-day basis and reviewing the labels before we put them in our mouths,
I do.
right?
I
And
do.
I'm gonna just let's go for
I do.
Andy. You do, right?
So do
Now,
I.
I
Grant,
do
Grant,
as
I
well.
have
Speak for
I, I
yourself.
have
And
I
it's
have a
highly
question for you.
recommended, by the way.
No, listen, I recommend
If you
that you
can
do
read,
that.
if you can read.
Amen. Amen, Grant. So you know what? Let me do an exercise with you real quick. You ready, Grant? Have you ever eaten anything with vanilla flavor, raspberry or strawberry flavoring in America?
Of course.
Huh?
Yeah.
You said yes? Is that what you
I'm eat,
said?
I'm eating some pistachios right now. They don't have vanilla or raspberry in them.
No, but I'm asking you, have you ever eaten
I eat
anything?
mostly raw foods.
Great. But have you ever eaten? You see how you're avoiding my actual question?
Of course we have.
Okay,
We're 50 years
phenomenal.
old.
Okay, phenomenal. So hear me out, right? What you don't know in America, if something has strawberry, raspberry, vanilla flavoring, or often natural fruit flavoring, and you ever read a label and it says a natural flavoring, that actually comes from an ingredient called castoreum. And castoreum actually comes from a beaver's anus, right? A beaver's ass. You're
Now
eating
we're
There you
talking.
something.
go.
Yeah, yeah.
If
There
I
we
What?
go.
if I'd
You
known that
see?
was on there,
You see that? You see that? You see that reaction,
no,
right?
no.
And
But what
listen,
is my
that
reaction?
visceral
What is my
reaction you just
what is
had. No.
what is
Hold on for a second.
no no
Hold
no
on
I just
for a
you
didn't
second.
see
you
it coming. I'm
Pay
sorry.
you
attention.
think I'm
Pay
having a
attention.
negative reaction? I didn't have a negative reaction
No,
about
not
beaver
you.
ass.
You see. No, not
I'm
you. Listen,
Oh,
sorry.
I
I thought you
understand
were
you eat
talking to me.
ass. Listen, I understand you eat ass, and most of the people in this
He's
room do
trying to
too. Look,
call you a
naturally.
gay.
No. I'm not calling you anything. What I'm telling you is, I just need us to take that same fervor, right? That same inclination that we have to be skeptical
Yeah,
about vaccines.
the difference is if you want
Look,
to eat
look,
beaver ass, it's a
look.
choice.
Hey,
Okay, when
yo,
you take
bro,
a vaccine,
bro. I
when you take
hear
a
you. Look,
Just
I'm
vaccine,
say
actually
what?
not judging you,
and
Grant.
when you have a
I'm not
vaccine
judging
put in your
any.
arm,
Look,
excuse
uh,
me, when you have
you.
vaccine put
No,
in
no,
your arm,
no,
much
no. I
less
can't
your children's
excuse you
arm.
in the middle of my conversation. You see, that's not how this works. I'm gonna let you speak, right? And I'm not
Thank you,
again, Grant.
thank
I'm
you.
not judging you, right? I'm not judging
Yeah, no,
anybody in this room. All I'm
you're
telling
making a
you.
comparison. You're making a comparison that has nothing to do with eating
Actually,
beaver
if
ass,
you
eating
allow me to
vanilla, eating
finish, if
strawberry,
you
eating
allow me to
raspberry.
finish my speech, like my quick statement,
Well, make it
you
quick,
will.
Luis. My
Well,
God.
goddamn, if I'm getting interrupted,
We're all
what do you
moving with the
expect,
beaver
Storm?
bud.
Listen, don't get aggressive with me because you found out you eat beaver's ass. That's your business,
I love
right?
it too. It's amazing. We
Good.
have
I'm happy
Bucky's
you
in
feel that way.
Texas.
So let me get to my point and let me land. My point is this: the same fervor and the same aggression that we have with being skeptical about vaccines, I want us to be more like what Grant just said. I eat all natural things and raw foods.
Mhm.
Be more specific and be more healthy. That's all I'm promoting, right? I'm not knocking anybody specifically, but I just need us to have that same fervor with our overall health. Now I'm gonna go
Luis,
on mute.
have you eaten beaver's
You took
ass?
all that time to say that.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah.
what you
Go,
wasted our
go
time
Luis
listening
has
America.
Oh,
eaten
to.
you see,
beaver's
I didn't
ass
I
as
didn't waste
well.
your time
Yeah, because
asking
he
me to
was
enlighten you
buying
about that.
It
time.
was a total waste of time, dude. It
Luis,
was
do you eat fish sticks?
No, I do not eat fish
I
sticks.
don't
No,
eat fish sticks either.
no,
You eat bread
Sorry.
number 40?
no. I no. I
what
actually
the
do my
difference
best not
here?
to.
The difference here, you guys comparing the foods that you eat or the ice creams that you get, that you're going to go out and have an ice cream once a month or once every week is different than you making a health decision using a vaccine where your kids are terrified if they don't get it. Particularly the parents are terrified that they're going to get it, and they're being told by the trusted white professionals that know everything, by the way, that we found out that really don't know anything at all, that they're safe when the truth is they weren't safe. So not we were deceived. You weren't deceived when you were given the cranberry. You were not deceived, and you were not eating it, by the way, to prevent some kind of health phenomenon.
And the issue is, Grant, we were not warned of side effects for a COVID vax. We were just told to take it. And every drug commercial that you see, side effects include this, and this. Everybody kept saying there was an insert. I get it. But here's the deal, a lot of people willingly took it because they trusted and assumed. And that's the problem. I'm pretty sure, Luis, you've eaten beaver's ass and probably a lot worse when you were a kid. So if you really want to make a comparison of a shot to a food or a vaccine to a food, dude, you're way off base tonight, man. You got to take the L for Luis tonight.
All right, Grant, here it is. On 1 second, RFK Jr. said about vaccines. Not only do they protect individual children from measles, but it also contributes to community immunity, protecting those who are unable to be vaccinated due to medical reasons. All right, so that's RFK, the anti-vaxxer. All right, so once again,
That is vaccinated himself, by the way.
yeah, of course he is. Of course he is.
But so what? I mean, I used to use drugs when I was a kid. I strongly promote against it today.
Well, Grant, what the fuck are you talking about right now?
The RFK Jr. said this like 3 days ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he would
Okay.
doesn't mean he would go vaccinate himself tomorrow.
Okay, but you said he didn't say. Okay, all right.
I didn't say he didn't say it. I trust that you're reading that and that you're reading
No,
it
no.
from
When I
a
said it
reliable
earlier,
source.
you said he didn't say. Okay, all
No,
right.
I'm not.
So
He's not promoting. He's not promoting. He's agnostic to the vaccine. He wants more information about it, and he thinks
well,
the American people deserve to have more information about it. He thinks that the American people deserve to know that there was never a placebo test with regard to the mRNA vaccine.
okay, okay. Once again,
You know that, right? You know there was no
what,
placebo test run against
yeah.
it.
Grant, I don't. I had all the information. I don't have the information in my head right
That
now.
is true, and
But
also
but
right
one
that he's
second,
not
Andrew, one mic, please. Grant, what I'm speaking about right now.
You know the test that they ran on Ritalin for kids, because now
Mhm.
we're gonna broaden the concept because I know
Yeah, but
Maha
Grant,
will.
I want to go back.
Do
I
you
want to
know
do.
that?
I want to go back. No, I need to go back and finish dealing with this because you seem like you're running somewhere else. Okay, you're scurrying into a corner somewhere else because earlier on you said he didn't say that, and this man is
I'm
clearly
actually
advocating.
my
He's
client
clearly saying.
now.
He's clearly saying what he said is not only does it protect individual children from measles, but it also contributes to community immunity, protecting those who are unable to be vaccinated due to medical reasons. Okay, and now you're saying that he's not supporting that.
No, I'm saying no. I didn't say that actually. I said that doesn't mean he's promoting the vaccines. Any vaccine, he's not promoting the
Yeah, he's
vaccine.
talking about. He's
He
speaking directly to the
that is
measles
not the
outbreak.
purpose.
He's
That is
speaking
not the
directly to the
purpose of.
measles outbreaks. He's speaking to the measles outbreaks because he wants people to go out there and get vaccinated so that they can end this. Grant, what are you talking about?
Okay, I don't know that to be true, but anyway, I'm listening to what you're reading right now. What I'm talking about is the overall purpose that Robert Kennedy and Maha expect to undertake, which is that the American people get the truth about what we do know and don't know about the mRNA vaccine. I mean, if you read the book that he wrote about Fauci, you would know some of this. I mean, it's only like an 800-page book, and he thinks the American people should know the truth about whether there were placebo tests or not regarding the vaccine. There was not any
Why are we talking about
placebo
placebo tests and we're speaking about what he said just 2 days ago, Grant?
because
That's
you're talking about one conversation about measles. I'm not.
yeah, but that's what
I'm
you.
not. I mean,
We spoke
I
about
thought
measles.
is
We
this
were
debate
speaking
the
about
news?
measles
Is
just
this
now.
debate the news? Is this debate the news or have the
It is debate.
conversation the way
Yeah,
Jonathan wants to have
we're
it?
debating the news. We're debating the news, but then that you're twisting the news.
No,
No,
no, I'm not twisting anything, dude.
you're recreating the news.
I'm having a conversation about the news.
Okay, so what's the news?
What's the news?
The
Oh, dude, the
question is
news
settled.
is the news is things are going to be better for the American people if you knuckleheads would just quit fighting it.
Okay,
It's
but
going to get good for the American people because we're going to know the truth now about what you're putting in your body. Maybe he gets rid of all this fructose. Maybe he gets rid of that out of all the Coca Colas and stuff. What's
So
the
we
safety?
shouldn't discuss
What?
grants. So you're saying that we should not discuss and just go along with whatever the guy says, right? We should not, argue it. We should not check it out and stuff like that, right?
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
Yeah,
Well, the
I'm
problem
so
That's
I'm
what you're
so happy.
insinuating.
Grant, I'm so
He
happy.
he doesn't suggest that either. By the way,
Grant, I'm so happy that this doctor that they put this medical doctor with all this medical experience up there. This guy that has all this medical experience, and or the residency and all that other stuff. This lifelong doctor physician. I'm so happy that they put him in charge of it all. Hell, he's a scientist too, right? Mm.
I don't know. I don't know who they put in charge.
No, RFK. We're speaking about RFK. That's what we're speaking about.
And you're saying he's a scientist and a doctor?
I mean, I'm so happy that he's a scientist
He
and a
looks a
doctor.
lot healthier than Rachel Levine did.
Amen to that, Andy.
What the fuck are you
Well,
laughing
I'm
for? That's
glad
crazy as
Obama was in
hell.
the military because he was the commander in chief as president. So what's the
Yeah,
point you're trying to make?
yeah, but y'all can't do that. Y'all got to tell the truth. And I mean, and the thing is that throughout all these years, RFK Jr. and I've been on his side have been against and talking against these particular vaccines. He's been putting skepticism out there on these vaccines. Now that he has a position of HHS secretary, what is happening is he's doing an about face because he is endorsing it in what Jonathan read, and I have read it, and he is endorsing the MMR shot. And he now is looking like a grifter who has grifted off of the anti-vaccine movement. And now anything he says moving forward is going to be called into question. Yes, he has done some good work in the past, but when he's confronted with making the decision, he didn't lean on any of that past skepticism. What he did was he's actually providing the shots to West Texas. He's actually getting behind the MMR shot and he's telling people to get vaccinated. And you guys have to be honest with that.
Is the
They're not
measles
going to
an
be honest.
mRNA vaccine?
No.
No,
Not.
No,
jeez.
it's
Okay,
not.
I
It's
thought he just
live
said that.
attenuated.
I thought he
I
just
never said
suggested that.
that. I never even said what vaccine. Daphne, you want to explain the
No, no,
vaccine that
the
I'm talking
gentleman
about?
that was speaking, I didn't think it was you speaking.
No, that was me speaking.
Okay.
And trust
Yeah,
me,
that's what
I'm
Carlos
on you
knows.
guys' side with COVID and mRNA, but RFK Jr. is talking about the MMR vaccine. And he's been sowing skepticism all these years into that MMR vaccine, and people have been listening to him. Now, when he's confronted with making the decision, because he's HHS secretary, we saw him on the panel with Trump when they asked the questions. He looked right to RFK Jr. to make the decision. What is he saying now? He is not leaning on any of that skepticism. He is providing vaccination. He is promoting people to get vaccinated. And Jonathan is hitting you guys with it, and you guys have to accept the fact that this guy is doing an about face.
Mm.
You think because he is suggesting that somebody get the measles vaccine that has been around for how many years?
Since 1960 something.
You're
But
suggesting
he
that
was just,
that's the same as him wanting to question the mRNA vaccine.
bro,
The
that
sub-
has nothing to do with the other. You moving the
Wait, wait,
goalposts.
wait. Can I just
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
RFK Jr. for years has said that the
Hi, Tirah.
MNR vaccine causes autism. He has said it as recently as 2023. He has said it consistently throughout his career. This has nothing to do with the mRNA. This is this old vaccine. He has constantly said it is a major issue, it is problematic, and it causes autism in his view. Now, when faced with a measles outbreak in Texas, he has recommended it. That's what Carlos is pointing out.
and I like the guy, but I got to tell the truth on the guy. The guy's not going to look me in the face and lie to me, and I'm going to accept that. Shit, no. I'm going to call him out.
Yeah, and Grant, I'm gonna be honest with you, Grant. You're looking foolish trying to defend it, man, because I'm reading his words, okay, and his actions and what he's doing, and it is direct opposite of what he has said for years about this vaccine. The direct opposite, and yet you guys are defending it and saying no, 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 no. You guys are defending him, but this guy is going opposite. You guys are defending his old position, actually. Okay, this guy now he has.
Robert Kennedy has never been anti-vaxxer. I am an anti-vaxxer.
Oh,
Robert Kennedy is not an anti-vaxxer. I can't believe you guys are even saying this.
No, no. Up until now, he has.
Both his kids are vaccinated, and he's vaccinated. What are y'all talking about?
But Grant, you got to understand something. Robert F. Kennedy has done a lot of research in his view on the MMR shot. He gives interviews on it. He's been on Joe Rogan talking about it. He's been on all these different forums talking about it. And he has sowed distrust because he says that they have never been tested and they've never been proven safe and effective. He's also said they have never been tested against a true placebo. He has sowed distrust into the MMR vaccine. Now, when he is faced with the decision on measles, he's not leaning on any of the other stuff that he said. He hasn't leaned on anything. He is getting behind the shot. He is doing an about face. And what he's doing is he's playing with you and he's looking like he is a grifter. I got to call him out on it.
Hey, Carlos, do you think he's looking at stats? In the 1960s, 1970s, 1 out of every 10,000 kids was diagnosed with autism. Today, in 2025, let's call it 2024, it's 1 out of every 33. So maybe the measles shot does cure the measles, prevents the measles, but maybe one of the byproducts of that is an autistic child.
Yes.
You can't have it both ways, and you make a valid point, Carlos. But there is a reason for autism, and I think that's what he got into that office for, to really do a deep dive on autism. Because it's prolific. There has to be a reason why.
What
It's either
were
the
your
food
He
or it's the
statistics,
discussed it in
air.
his
Andy?
book
It's the
Thermosol.
Andy, what were your statistics about one and whatever? What did you say?
one in
And this,
every in the 60s and 70s. It's not my statistics, by the way. These are statistics that you could easily look up. 1 out of every 10,000 kids were diagnosed with autism in the 60s and 70s. Today, it's 1 out of every 33. It's odd to me, don't you think? It's odd. There has
and
to
there
be
has
a
been,
reason.
in other
Is
words,
it
you
the
don't
food?
think that there has been
Okay. You
change.
ask a question.
Wait,
Okay,
wait,
goodbye. Okay,
Andy, let me
yeah.
ask you something. There have been changes in the diagnoses. There have been, basically, people didn't diagnose it as much in the 60s, as you know, because it wasn't something that was actually laid out there as a syndrome. They have broadened the definitions. They have gone into adults. You don't think any of this has to do with changing definitions and broadening what is autism?
They're still not
Okay.
defining it
They
well.
changed
Many
they changed the definition of
practitioners
vaccine
don't
too
understand
after
what it
COVID.
is.
No, 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 that's
It-
not an answer to what I just said, is
the
it?
the answer is absurd. Yes, let's just say they 100% broadened the scope of what autism is, and it went from 1 in every 10,000 to 1 in every 33. That's statistically impossible. So,
No, it's not.
this diagnose must be so liberal in diagnosing this. Oh, if you're left-handed, you must be autism. If you blink 3 times, you're autistic, because it doesn't go from 1 out of every 10,000 to 1 out of every 33. It's impossible. There's a reason for it. Water, air, food, vaccine. Pick one, or maybe it's all four of them. I don't know. I'm not a scientist or a doctor, but I find these statistics alarming. You don't?
Yeah, but
Well,
let me
if we're gonna deal in spurious
He discussed
claims,
it in his book Thermosol,
well,
though, just so if
Okay,
y'all want to
Makita.
well,
reference
Go,
it.
Makita.
well, if we're
Makita.
Yeah, what was
One
that,
mic.
if we're
Makita?
gonna
One mic on Makita. Go ahead, Makita.
I just said he discussed it in his book Thermosol, his concerns regarding autism and the vaccines. I just wanted to give that point of reference. I know it's a pretty old book, but that is a book that he did write.
Makita, real quick. So, did he talk about the MMR vaccination as well?
He goes through discussing a lot, his concerns, the statistics. There's a lot of things that he discussed in that book.
Okay.
I'm
Discuss
not in.
MMR and autism, though?
I'm not in this. I'm not participating in this conversation on purpose. I'm listening. I'm given a resource, but I'm choosing to not participate. Yeah.
The Marisol was
Always
never in the
respected.
MMR vaccine, just
Well,
to tell you.
but it's a resource. Like we're giving
I'm
resources, and I
just
know if I
saying,
put it in the
though, we were
chat,
talking about,
people are
but
not going to
but
be
we
able
were
to get it.
talking about MMR and autism, and you mentioned I always say it right, the Marisol, which has never been in the MMR vaccine. Just a thought.
Okay, what I'm saying is, if I put the resource in the chat, they may not get it. And we're talking about his position. Another book that he wrote was mentioned, and I'm mentioning the resource in case someone wants to go look it up themselves to understand his position, if it has changed over time or if it's still the same. We, like in this room and on the podcast and everything, as an informational point, even though we debate the news and we talk about different topics, we still have to give people resources and tools to be able to go and inform themselves and, determine their own positions and see how they want to move forward in life or whatever stands they want to take, we want to take, right? It's not just a conversation. We take these things, we bring stuff into the room and we take things out of the room. So, what I'm saying is, I think if we're going to be looking at current events and having conversations, and then we're talking about this particular person's stance, we do need to understand what their stance was before and if it has changed. And then if we have resources, we should offer them. So that's all I'm saying is he's written multiple books. There's different things that we can look at.
I might, for a moment, he was also selling baby onesie T-shirts that said "No vax, no problem." I put the link and the information, two links down there for you guys to check out, just for your information.
And for full disclosure, I do believe that the MMR vaccine is linked to these rising cases of autism. I'm not the HHS secretary. I'm not the one who's been on interviews talking against the MMR vaccine and these particular issues. RFK is. And the issue is that when he put out his press release, he didn't state any of the other stuff that he had. He could have stated, hey, while I believe such and such that is linked to autism, I do believe that children at these particular ages, because he's talked about all these different things about not giving it so early, about giving it later on in the youth. And he didn't state none of that. He jumped right behind the vaccine, jumped right behind the shot. And you guys have to admit that. That's what I'm saying. You guys lose arguments because you guys stay on this stuff and you don't want to call people out on their nonsense.
Yeah, and there's just not enough in studies. I mean, I've shared over and over again that my daughter had a what they call like a febrile seizure, and it's due to, in her case, high fevers, and you know, she took the 4 shots at the same time. I agree with Andy. In our case, and this was 18 years ago, not only was it not offered to separate the shots, it was not recommended to my husband and I. And it was very tragic what happened to her and what happens to a lot of kids. And again, nobody knows what autism is actually caused by. So the fact that we continue to deny that some children have reactions to these vaccines is ridiculous. So I agree that more needs to be done to actually link certain patterns together.
Did you guys know
The
that when you
grand
go
kill
from
of
state to
vaccines.
state, did you know that when you go from state to state, the vaccine schedule changes? Like if you live in New York and you move to Utah, there's a different vaccine schedule. Did you know that? Like it could be the same 3 to 5 year. Did you know that there are things that are like states determine specific vaccines that children have to have and things like that? Like there's a lot that
That makes
people.
sense. Different environments, different climates. That makes sense. That makes all the sense in the world.
This is
Let
Nurse
me ask
Cher.
Carlos.
So I can
Um,
just say
I,
from the
well,
textbooks when I was in nursing school, it's one vaccine schedule. And it may differ by state, but from when I went to school, it was one vaccine schedule that they had for the child from birth to age 18. Um, I'll also say that you can't look at it in a vacuum. I'm not saying that vaccines don't contribute to autism. I don't know. I'm not an expert in that. But another thing is that with increased maternal age, the rates for autism skyrocket. So the older the mother is, the higher the chances that her child is going to have autism. And we all know that people are having their children later. So you can't look at it in a vacuum. It's not just the vaccines potentially. I think it's a combination of environmental factors, the food, everything else, and then the maternal age.
and Nurse Shear,
And also the male age. Oh, sorry, Jonathan.
no, go.
Well, I was going to say also the male age. And, it's important to remember that pregnancies over the age of 35 used to be called geriatric pregnancies until women got really up in arms about the term geriatric pregnancy, right? So now they don't call it that anymore. But you just look at
And we
when
don't like to be
people were
called fat
having.
either. Just
You just
saying.
look at when people are having children, it gets later and later and later. And these are some complications for that. And then back to just autism, the largest increase was between 2006 and 2020. Now, either this was caused, they changed the DSM, Diagnostic Statistical Manual, which changed how they diagnose and the signs and symptoms they look for autism, which would be across all mental health and all medical professions. Or it was because that's the year that Apple released the touchscreen phone. It could be either, right? I mean, if we're just going to
Basically,
start trying to correlate things, we can just throw darts, right?
it feels like.
All right, so guys, so anyway, wow, guys, listen to me. I'm sitting here, and I don't know. I mean, we're saying that autism is. I mean, there's a lot of things that wasn't diagnosed before that's being diagnosed now. Is it because we're better at diagnosing it? Is it better that we're? I mean, there's some illnesses that we had, that weren't diagnosed, until we were able to. We got a lot better in terms of medical technology. I mean, there's just so many different things in terms of diagnosing autism. I'm not saying that's the reason, but could that possibly be the reason as well that we're better at
Jonathan,
diagnosing it?
when it was first
Absolutely.
diagnosed, like I think it was in the 40s,
Okay.
it was just diagnosed as schizophrenia in children, okay? So it
Okay.
was a very narrow diagnosis. And so it was very rare because, you don't see that very often. Obviously, you still don't see that very often, okay? It was called schizophrenia childhood type. Okay, then in 80, it went to infantile autism, which made it much broader. Okay, so it's a spectrum. It expanded the spectrum. In 2013, it expanded even further. So we have changed the diagnoses to include many more conditions, and parents are on the lookout for many of these things. In the 40s, you might have just thought a kid was slow, and so there were things, right? I mean,
Mhm.
people didn't necessarily, come up with these diagnoses. Look, there are a lot of studies showing that it might have genetic causes. There obviously are some, it could be, honestly, I think we should be looking at microplastics. I always worry about that, and we never seem to do anything about that. And we all know it's within us and everything. But I think there have been, what's interesting is in terms of just MMR and autism, there have been a lot of studies, like an awful lot. Like there was one in Denmark, 500,000 children, which is, and it's Denmark, it's not America, it's not whatever. And they said there was no difference between unvaccinated and vaccinated. So if you listen to Senator Cassidy, when he was talking to RFK Jr. about this, basically, he said, we have 40 years of studies showing there is this particular vaccine, MMR, I'm not talking about anything else, MMR and autism, that show there is not this connection. Something has clearly happened. Some of it is diagnoses, some of it might be other factors, some of it's genetic, some of it is older pair. I can't answer exactly what it is, but what I will say is there are lots of studies about this particular vaccine not
When you
causing
look when
autism.
you look at a study, it's really important to know who's funding the study. Just in any study, you have to remember that who is putting up the money for that study, and then once you determine that, then you realize it has a bias or not. In order for you to truly evaluate a study, that information has to be ascertained.
Oh my God, Andy, I gotta ask you, did you even believe in Santa Claus? Jesus.
No, I didn't believe in Santa Claus. No, I didn't. Never.
Well,
So
I
can
want
I
to point
just,
out.
Andy, can I just say one thing, that the Danish study that I referenced was funded by the Danish National Research Foundation, which is a government-backed Danish entity. Now, if you think they have some bias, I have no idea what those biases would be, but it wasn't Moderna, it wasn't Pfizer, it wasn't a drug company, et cetera, okay?
Yeah. Hey, did you guys notice when Carlos called Grant, he hauled ass?
I hate to do that on this subject because I typically will side with Grant. When he gets on,
he hauled.
I do that. When we talking mRNA and COVID and stuff, that me and Grant are aligned.
Carlos, let me ask you, why do you think he changed his mind?
Who RFK Jr.
Yep.
Because the thing about it is that when you're confronted with the actual, it's a lot easier on the sidelines to throw stones and to say a lot of things, but when you're confronted with the decision making and you have 140 something cases, the safest thing for him to do is to go with the safe bet. And the safe bet at this time for RFK Jr. is to get behind the shot, because if he says anything different and this thing actually gets out of hand and he was in a position to administer a shot and encourage a shot, there's going to be hell to pay for the administration. So this thing goes way up, even probably beyond him. But my thing is that he has a lot of extensive research, the way he talks, into this particular situation, and he didn't lean on any of that. The first thing he went to was a shot. Now, one of the caveats is, if you get the Children's Health Defense newsletter, they're not talking about the shot as far as like as a deal to deal with a particular situation in West Texas. They're actually interviewing doctors who are implementing therapeutics. So his organization is taking a different approach privately to the people that are subscribed, but publicly, him as HHS secretary, he's going with the actual norm, and
That,
it's
that,
very hypocritical, is what they're doing.
that that's why I just say that seems very snake oil salesperson. Like, man, if that's what they're doing, I mean, they're profiting off of people. I guess the mistrust that he sowed, while publicly he's putting the correct information out there. That doesn't make sense. It seems like he's doing it to make a profit, and what you're saying is correct.
Well,
It,
they're
it,
not selling anything. I'm talking about they're interviewing doctors who are saying, "Hey, we're doing things like giving inhalable budesonide for people who have respiratory situations with the measles and stuff like that." That's what they're doing. They're highlighting doctors that are trying to treat it, but he's publicly getting behind the actual shot.
All right. Yeah. Hey guys. First of all, thank you guys for being here on Debate the News. Man, oh man, I'm enjoying the conversation. I'm learning a lot. Carlos, I like the way you. It was like you were like a can of raid. I mean, you like, it was gone. But with that being said, if you guys are listening to us at home, make sure you guys that's listening to us at home, hey, come join us, man. Download that Chatter Social app. That Chatter Social app, guys. It is
Oh yeah.
amazing. It's amazing because here's the deal, folks. We have debate the news sports edition coming up. Okay. And we have people lined up for that. We have debate the news business, stocks and crypto. Oh man, Skull, you guys know Skull
Woo!
here. Skull's gonna be doing that every weekday morning,
I
guys.
am I am still here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, our Skull is here, and so he's going to be doing it every weekday morning. We have debate the news entertainment. Okay,
Woo!
Latrell's involved in that. We also have debate the news local, folks. So that's just local news where you come in, you bring local stories, and it was fun. I mean, it was great. We had 2B over there. He had Madeline with him, but Andre was
It's Parker.
Adrian Barker came in and stole the show. So that was pretty fun to listen to Adrian. Is Adrian here? Adrian going once. Can someone get Adrian in here, please? If you guys can, someone please get Adrian Barker in here. Anyone, please get Adrian Barker in here. But Adrian Barker stole the show, folks. And I definitely want to introduce you guys to Adrian Barker. I need to find. Can someone please get Adrian Barker in here, please?
You
If you
got
guys,
it.
But
all right,
thank
again.
you, Dana. Listen, Jonathan, that's been my favorite part of this whole thing. I feel like there are
Okay.
hidden gems everywhere. Is that Adrian's voice that I hear now?
No, she's not here yet. All right.
Oh, okay.
So
But yeah, I
so
mean that's what's been happening, right? Like with all these things, we've been finding a lot of hidden gems here, Jonathan.
absolutely. So absolutely, guys. What I'm trying to tell the people at home: download this app. Download this app, folks. It's the Chatter Social app. All right, you guys can come and participate live. Okay, and you guys could talk to Adrian and Tu and and Skull and Tara and Grant and Storm, everyone, all those great people. We have Divine, Madeline. You guys can come and talk to all these great people. So download the Chatter Social app. You can get that app. You can get it either at the Google Play Store or you can get it at the Apple App Store. So either one of those places is available for both iOS as well as Android. So make sure you guys do that. Also, if you guys are here in the audience right now, up top there, right above us, okay, on both apps, you guys are able to download, okay, first of all, follow the app. I mean the podcast, and download like 10 episodes, guys. 10. Come on, download some episodes for us, folks. And go leave a review there as well, folks. Appreciate you guys for leaving that review because it helps out a lot. So, yeah. So when Adrian Barker gets in here, I'm going to go back to her, but we're going to jump right back into it because from what I'm seeing right now and what I'm hearing right now, believe it or not, the MMR vaccine, measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine. Some people believe that it's safe and effective. Some people believe that it should be broken up, and if it's broken up, it's even more safe and effective. And some people are saying don't get it. So I once again, I'm sorry. Uh, Call me naive. I'm going to go with the doctor recommend. I'm going to go with what the government recommend. Because yeah, generation after generation, we've lived longer and longer and longer. With the exception of COVID, when COVID came in, that's a little glitch in, and a lot of people died. But for the most part, a lot of that is due to the prophylactics that we have, and by that I mean the vaccines. The vaccines have allowed us as mankind to avoid a lot of childhood illnesses that was normally out there that would have taken us out long before we had a chance to become the best version of ourselves. So, with that being said, folks, I want to say thank you guys. Welcome to the show. Let's get back to it. Storm, are you here? Storm going once. All right.
Listen, while we're waiting on Storm, Jonathan, I wanted to, if you don't mind, I'd like to open it up. I just wanted to know, I think there's a few folks in here that I heard speak before that maybe have had a vaccine injury. And I wanted to at least allow them the platform to be heard if they'd like. That's all. Is there
Of
anybody
course.
in here that wanted to speak?
One time I handled really hot peppers and then I scratched my nuts after and they burned real bad.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, bro. We don't do that here. Appreciate the attempt at the humor. But not right now, Andrew. Not right now. Is there anyone with a vaccine injury? I know of someone with a vaccine injury. That's fine. We can open it up to that as well. Have no problem opening up for that as well. But yeah, more importantly, when we're speaking about vaccines and vaccination, Nurse Sure, you came off and you said something. You were really passionate about how you feel about the vaccine. Now, earlier today, someone I believe that we were getting 72 shots from the time we're born to the time we're 18, and when we look it up, that schedule only has between 17 and 19 shots. Nurse Share, do you believe that the vaccines have hurt us, or do you believe that they've hurt us or helped us?
I think overall they have helped us, but in general, I always say you can't look at things in a vacuum. What's good for 98.9% of the population may not be good for, that remainder of the population. So it's just something you have to look at over time and educate yourself, try to make the best decisions for you.
As a nurse share, do you think that it's best to break them apart at least?
So again, I think it's whatever's best for you. Like for my family specifically, my dad's a physician. He had saw some adverse effects, if you will, in my oldest brother, and he broke up his vaccination schedule after that, and he did it for all of us. And I did not do it for my firstborn, and I noticed like an immediate speech regression after one of his vaccines, and from that point on, I did break them up. So I didn't decide not to get them, and he's totally fine and healthy as a horse, and we don't have any issues. But I think it's a little different for everyone. We're not all made the same, and even though the medicine's the same, it impacts people differently.
So,
Thank
and I
you.
can go with that. I think. Go ahead. Who's that? Andy?
I just one quick question for the nurse.
Paulus. Yes.
I've heard about this in medical circles. There's a fundamental belief that you listen to the mother. Is that still the case, where you listen to the mother because she knows the baby better than anyone?
It absolutely is if you have the right pediatrician. And, it's super important for, you have to find a pediatrician that has a good bedside manner and also takes what you feel about your children into account. Our pediatrician is great. I can speak to one time when I took my son in, he would get sick with the exact same thing, the exact same time of year every year. And we knew that gentamicin was what he needed to get rid of it. And she didn't want to give me that. She wanted to let it ride out. She didn't want to do a chest x ray because he didn't sound like he was congested. But he was always congested, so much so that you couldn't hear it, but you could see it on the x-ray. So I told her, if you're not going to prescribe that, at least get him the x-ray. So she got us the x-ray, and we were down the hall getting it. And I was complaining about her very loud while we were in the waiting room. And then she came back in and said, I called your pediatrician, and he said to go ahead and give the gentamicin. So if you have the right provider, they will listen and they will do what you're asking. And he was fine within 2 days, like before we even finished the course of the antibiotics.
Good stuff there. No, good stuff. No, I definitely appreciate that, guys. So yeah, so once again, as I said, we've been speaking about this, guys. You know, RFK, and don't listen to me. I don't fault RFK for. I'm not going to be upset with him. I'm not going to call him any kind of name because when it came down to it, I believe he did the right thing. Okay, I think I would have been a lot more upset with RFK if had came down to it, he had stuck with that anti-vax if he would have stayed with that. So it actually made me feel a lot more comfortable. As someone that doesn't support him being in that position, because I don't. I'm not gonna lie, I don't support him being in that position. But it made me feel a lot more comfortable knowing that when it came down to it, that he was willing to go ahead and make the call and say, hey, you know what? Let's get the shot out there. And so that is what I want. That's the only thing I expect. And if he does that, and if he continues to do that, then I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that, folks. If we can get through this term, but if he starts doing some things that that I think is contrary to known medical practice and I guess best practices, then I'm going to find that problematic. He can bring awareness to alternative stuff. I'm all for that. I think everything should be looked at. Everything should be considered, but let's not have people dying unnecessarily because of your untested beliefs. So I just want to put that out there. Now it's
Jonathan?
cold.
Jonathan?
Yes, go ahead.
Jonathan's Euella here. So Euella here. Can I speak to the stats that I put in the chat?
Let's do it.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So I asked Microsoft Copilot to provide me with a chart of the average life expectancy for various countries compared to the estimated number of vaccine shots. So these are separate shots, not per disease, but per shot. Yeah. So I found the first two entries quite interesting. So the American life expectancy is 79.5 apparently, and you guys have 28 childhood vaccine shots. United Kingdom, we live longer at 81.5 years, and we only have 13. So, although, of course, we know that correlation is not causation, those figures do beg for a second look, right?
Not in my opinion, because I feel like you have to factor in other things like stress and environment and everything else. And I don't mean to speak broadly, but you guys probably have less stress knowing your health care is paid for over there than the people in America. So that could be attributed to it too. And while we're on stats, I just did want to highlight that in terms of deaths and global death rates prior to the introduction of the vaccines in the early 60s, the measles caused an estimated 2.6 million deaths annually worldwide. And that mortality rate varied depending on access to healthcare, nutrition, living conditions, and obviously countries that have less access to healthcare. The death rate would have been much higher there. So I say that just to highlight that if you start adding that up and compounding that 2.6 million deaths annually worldwide, and think about how many people may have autism from a vaccine or may be dying from this disease if they get it, it's less than 2.6 million. And I think this might be one of those situations where, the good outweighs the bad. And that's probably why they have the vaccine funds for some of those injuries that do get reported.
So my question for you,
Can I say one thing?
of course, let's go. Let's go.
Yeah, thank you. So, what these stats do is to call into question the assumption that was made earlier that your fall in death rate is as a result of your vaccines. It certainly calls that into question. So that's all I'm saying. I'm not trying to make any claims, but just saying, we need to look at some of the assumptions we're making. Thank you.
Did
You're
we talk? I'm sorry. Did we
well,
talk about the blood-brain barrier introducing Tylenol at the time of giving vaccinations in infants, and how the blood-brain barrier not being in full tact can allow the heavy metals to enter the brain via the blood-brain barrier not being closed?
I don't know anything about that. Tara, is Tara here? Because Dr. Catherine's here.
Tara's
Uh,
not
Dr. Dr.
gonna
Catherine
know.
and Tara. I think Tara's not here. I think Dr. Catherine's here. Dr. Catherine, you want to answer that about what was that? Metals entering the brain as a result of.
The blood-brain barrier not being closed.
No, your blood-brain barrier is like a gradient, um, and it's true. Some things pass through the blood-brain barrier, some things don't. So you're concerned about metal toxicity from a vaccine getting in, permeating through the blood-brain barrier?
Yes, it's been talked about by many doctors, and
Oh, and
yes.
have they done studies where they stain the brain tissue or test the cerebral spinal fluid for these heavy metals you're concerned about?
Yes, their studies showed that when the blood-brain barrier was still open, and in conjunction with administering Tylenol, heavy metals were able to pass through into the brain because the blood-brain barrier was not fully closed. And as far as
Oh my gosh. Okay,
RFK,
so mm,
he was actually selling T-shirts that said, not just T-shirt, infant onesies saying, no vaccines, no problem.
He was not with the CHP that was selling those onesies at the time
Wait,
that
they have a
those onesies were
T-shirt?
sold.
Yes, they do.
Then it must be true.
They're $29.
What
why
the?
did you bring up
Yeah, but he
Tylenol?
was not with the CHP at that time.
I'm
So
going to recommend the Trump Bible to help you get through this because I'm going to bed. Good night, you guys.
Thank you, Dr. Catherine, for all the times that you weigh in. We appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. One second, guys. I want to bring Tara back in because I want to ask Tara because Tara has read studies on this. Tara, yeah, Tara. So, Tara, we have a someone here that says you want to repeat that about the blood. You want to do that? The heavy metals getting into the brain from
Yes,
infants.
evidently there are doctors that have done studies on it that because of in infants, the blood-brain barrier is not fully intact yet, that these immunizations and the heavy metals are able to enter into the brain via the blood-brain barrier not being fully closed.
Blood-brain barrier is also open as an adult. Gabapentin and Lyrica can cross the blood-brain barrier. You have to be very careful.
I mean, alcohol can pass it to us, just how the body's made up. I'll just throw in that
Trump.
heavy metals aren't used in vaccines at the rate that they used to be. I know they're still using it in, I think, the multi-dose vials of the flu vaccination, but that's in there to help make sure that there's not like bacteria or fungus or anything else that's going to grow when the needles are being introduced into the same vial to pull down doses from it. So just wanted to throw that out there that the Marisol is not used at the same rate that it used to be.
Thank you, Nurse Cher.
You're welcome.
Tara, in terms of these metals, are you there, Tara?
I'm here, but it's not an area that I know much about. But I think aren't those sort of metals really large molecules, and aren't they too large to cross the blood-brain barrier even in infants?
So
I
they're
thought that,
they're speaking specifically about thimerosal, unless someone wants to correct me and say they're referring to something else. And it's like it's a form of mercury, which is a heavy metal, but it's not.
but thimerosal is not in that many vaccines anymore.
No,
I mean,
it's not. It's not.
they've taken it out. Like I said, yeah, it's not an MMR. I guess it's in some older ones. But I don't, I think maybe that could cross the blood-brain barrier. I don't know, but And that one I don't know about, but I do know that I thought in most cases the metals are just the molecules are too big, right? So the other things, it just doesn't make any sense. But I don't know what people are talking about here. And like I said, this is not anything I've ever studied much.
No, this is where the autism discussion started because Tamarisol was used as a preservative in the
It was
vaccine.
never used in MMR vaccines, never, ever,
I did
ever.
not say that, Tirah. Let me speak respectfully, because it was used in vaccines and contained mercury, and the symptoms of heavy metal poisoning are all almost parallel to those of autism. So that's where the discussion came in, and that's why it was removed from vaccines in 2001.
Yes, ma'am. Correct.
And why do we have RFK Jr. for what appears to be 30 years saying it was MMR?
His book is called that in an entire discussion of the vaccine debate. So it's not the only thing he was speaking about in the MMR vaccine, which is why he still speaks about it even after Tamarisol has been removed.
The Marisol, once again, was never in MMR, and he has consistently made the claim that MMR causes autism, which has been consistently debunked by numerous studies. I mean, like there are 40
I
years of
understand that, but
studies.
you're saying the same thing,
Excuse
and
me,
I'm
excuse
not
me. I'm
saying
sorry.
that.
Lisa, can you please speak up so that everyone can hear you a little bit better? You're just a little low, that's all, and I want to make sure everyone can hear you. Thank
Sorry,
you.
guys, this is what took me so long. I'm on the road.
We appreciate you. I can hear you a lot better now. Go ahead, Lisa.
Yeah, so the Tamarisol, the argument was related to it being in vaccines, which is the same argument has gone for flu shots, referring to the fact that that preservative can cause autism because of the mercury. It's not relevant necessarily to the MMR, but the MMR argument, the reason he's still giving it after 2001, when it's no longer in any vaccines, is because, or in the ones that we're talking about, is because he's referring to the way that it's grouped and the fact that these doses haven't been tested on infants. They don't have infant levels that have been tested. So if you look at the research of what he's talking about with the MMR, I'm not talking about Tamarisol, and neither is he. He's talking about the grouped vaccine.
And if I can piggyback on that, see the issue with MMR, what people are saying is the fact that, and this is coming from mothers. These are coming from mothers, and mothers have been discounted in what they're saying was going on with their child. Mothers are saying that, hey, my child was this way. My child was lively. My child was attentionate. My child was looking at me, and I took her in or took him in for this particular shot, MMR, and overnight they developed this fever, and the very next day their child turned into something totally different. This is what mothers are saying, and I don't know if Nurse Sherry can back me up on that, but this is what mothers are saying, and it has something to do with the administration of this particular shot at 1 year old and introducing 3 viruses into the system, and that subsequent fever that's happening after this particular shot, and the very next day that there's a change in their child. And mothers have been discounted, and that's why I asked Nurse Sherry that does it still remain that you listen to the mother, because nobody knows the child better than the mothers. And you mothers in the room, you mothers can wake up in the middle of the night at 2 or 3 in the morning and know your child is sick and go right into the room and know that there's something wrong.
That's exactly the story with my daughter. And I think where I vary in opinion is that I think it's impossible to a definite degree to say that one specific shot causes autism when we don't even know what causes autism, and doctors vary in how they even diagnose it. In my opinion, it boiled down to the fever, an incredibly high fever. We're talking 103 plus, 104 plus. And it took a while to bring that fever down. And so one of the things that you'll see in a lot of the studies with the people that do say that a high fever caused something in the brain neurologically, it is tied not necessarily to one vaccine, but the introduction of so many diseases or viruses at once. And I think because we don't put any validation to this, I think that it stops other type of studies from happening or genetic testing to see if you could figure out what kids shouldn't be taking certain vaccines, or at least in the doses that they're taking it.
And like I said, this is not an area I've studied, so I'm asking. The what I just read was that babies get more aluminum, for example, which is which is something else that has been mentioned certainly by RFK Jr. and other people who are against vaccines. They get more from breast milk and from their diet on a daily basis than they would by a long shot from any vaccine. Is that true?
I think we've gone beyond the heavy metals argument. I think we're talking
No,
about.
I just want to go because Lisa was talking about heavy metals and people were talking about heavy metals. I'm asking, is that true?
Yes, Tara. Normal exposure just to normal stuff in your life is higher than what you would get in a vaccine. So it's
So
like
how does the
people are
heavy
saying it's
metals
probably
argument make it make sense for me then?
If
I mean
you research, like if you look at Generation Rescue, where Jenny McCarthy was yelling about the same thing. Sorry.
Oh, you're in the matrix.
Jenny McCarthy is not a doctor. I'm asking for studies and stuff like that because they
Well, at
have
least it's
studied.
different because I think she went in the matrix. I just want to say that I do know that Jenny McCarthy does use her platform to talk about her autistic son.
No,
So
no, no.
that,
I understand that,
well,
Daphne. What I'm saying is that I asked a very specific question. The question is people that then people mentioned heavy metals, and what I asked is, isn't aluminum, which is the other major heavy metal that's mentioned, isn't that more prone? You get it from breast milk, you get it from diet. Kids get a lot of it. So why? And that has been studied. So what is the issue here about that?
I think it's just the amount at a particular time and the rate of absorption because of how it's injected. Like when you have, if there's topical things that have aluminum, no, they're not all just rushing through your blood brain barrier. So it's, I think, the fact that it's injected, circulating in the bloodstream, it has access to different things in the body that something external would. So you may have more exposure over time to something topical. It's a lot different when you're injecting something into someone.
No, sure. I mean, I'm not an expert, but are these shots supposed to be injected into the blood or into the muscle?
So it's supposed to go into the muscle, but and Daphne, you're a nurse, you can probably speak to this. There's a very specific technique that people are supposed to do when they're giving intramuscular injections. They're supposed to kind of draw back on the needle and make sure they're not in a vein before they inject. That's not done as widely as it used to be. So
it's
that, I
true.
mean, that could be an element too. I've
Right.
seen people, they get the flu shot and it goes into their vein instead of the muscle, and they drop on the floor like a sack of potatoes. And they're fine at like 5-10 minutes later, but like where it's injected absolutely impacts how your body absorbs it and what happens after that.
So they're supposed to aspirate.
I'm sorry?
They're supposed to aspirate. They're supposed to
Yes.
put the needle
Yep.
in, and they're supposed to pull back. And if they're supposed to not see blood, right?
Yeah, and if they see blood, they're supposed to pull the needle back a little bit, push the little bit of blood that maybe came up into the needle out, and then aspirate again to make sure that they're not still in the vein.
And this is where I think ultimately the blame is going to go as far as with the COVID situation and these particular shots, because what happened was you had all kind of people administering these shots, and nobody was out there aspirating. Now, don't tell me these people were aspirating on you. And I do believe some of these shots, or a lot of these shots, actually went into the blood system.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure shots were administered wrong. They were doing the tests wrong. They had people that were going through the um the sinus tissue and causing people to have cerebral spinal fluid leaking down into their nasal cavities because they hadn't been trained properly. That's unfortunately that's some of the things that happen when you have a rapid thing roll out like that, and it's subject to human error with all the different people that are doing it.
It's true. A lot of things happened really fast too, like with the COVID vaccines. I'm just saying.
Yeah, well, not too fast. I mean, they did have the manual from Moderna and BioNTech online, so I did read those before I made decisions for me and my family. But most people aren't comfortable reading those wouldn't be able to digest all that information. And it was hard to get your practitioners to say anything other than what they were seeing on the news, what they were hearing in the medical forums.
No, absolutely.
Um, all right. Well, folks, wow. So first and foremost, I want to say thank you guys for coming out as always to debate the news. Man, oh man, whenever we talk vaccines, it's always a very controversial subject. So I want to say thank you to each and every one of you guys that contributed. And guys, listen to me. If you guys, once again, debate the news business, stocks and crypto, that's going to be huge. Skull, are you there, Skull? Skull going once.
I am here, and
Skull.
I'm actually flying out tomorrow early morning for some crypto business. But yeah, I will be starting that next week, and we'll be doing shows during the day, talking about stock market, talking about crypto, talking about general state of economics. Want to try to keep it apolitical, right? Because it's more of a market and economics focused show. But I think there is plenty of things to debate there, so we can talk about that a little bit as well, Jonathan.
Absolutely. That's going to be so good. We're looking forward to it. Everyone is.
No, absolutely. So we have that, guys. Debate the News Sports. That's going to make its debut next week. We have Debate the News Entertainment. I got to figure out when that's going to make its debut. And hey, guys, we got some Debate the News, some real pleasant stuff that we're going to roll out prior to V2 on the Debate the News platform. Donate to Lose Local came out today, and guys, I had a good time. I actually enjoyed it. It allowed us all to get to know each other and just speak about stories that took place that locally, not just stories that was political. And so people can talk about dogs, dog shows, or whatever the heck it was, different things. And that was pretty fun. It was pretty fun to get to see people sharing news and not having to like really argue it, a little like debate questions or whatever. But it was a fun time. So, folks, do me a favor. If you're listening to us at home, download the Chatter social app. All you have to do is go to the Google Play Store for Android and download it. And if you have iOS, go to the Apple App Store and download it there. Guys, V2 is coming out soon. That's version 2. And oh my gosh, it's going to be incredible. Get in now, get in early. Once again, if you're listening at home, we appreciate you guys. Hey, if you're listening here on the app, do us a favor. Go up to the link up top. Follow the podcast, guys. Follow the podcast. Start off by doing that. Then, after you follow it, go into it, hit those three dots, and go and hit automatic downloads. Okay, automatic downloads, guys. Really, you guys are doing us a great favor if you do that. And that's on both platforms. It's up there on both platforms. You guys should see the link up top. Guys, download 10 episodes or so. All right, please. Okay, because
And no, we mean that. Please come on. We're friends, guys. You come every night.
exactly. Say it again.
You come every night. Download the episodes. We really appreciate you. Thank you, guys. Every one of you.
Absolutely, 100%, guys. So yeah, make sure you guys do that. It'll be a great help to us. And so I want to make sure before I go, Euella, are you here? Yeah.
Yeah, I am just yes,
Okay.
just
Before I go, where are you from?
where am I from?
Yes. Tell the
In
audience who
what
you are and where you're
context?
from, if you don't mind. Go ahead and tell them about yourself and your.
I'm from the UK.
Okay, you're in the UK. All right, and you do shows. You do shows here on Chatter as well, correct?
I certainly do.
Okay, tell
Yes,
us about those
yes.
shows.
I see you are. Imitation is the best form of flattery.
Yes, tell us about the name of the shows and when they can partake in those shows.
Our new timing is 6:30 my time, which is 1:30 p.m. your time. Mondays through to Fridays, except for Thursdays, when we are doing it at 4:30 p.m. your time to try and involve you guys, because on Thursdays we do our Brits Talking USA Politics with Americans. So this is where we we talk all about your politics and your guys. Some of your people from America come and educate us a little bit. Yeah. So on the other days, we are looking at things going on in the UK that have implications beyond our shores. So we're looking really at global issues, and we kind of look at it from a UK lens, but looking at what's going on in the US and globally across the world. Yeah.
So
And
good.
the name of that show?
So we calling it UK News Talk now? UK News Talk, and then on Tuesdays we do one which is specifically UK politics, which is so that show is called This Week in Politics UK. So we have three shows basically. One is UK News Talk, and the other is This Week in Politics UK, and the third one is Brits Talking USA Politics with Americans.
All right, folks. You guys can find that on the Chatter Social app. Wendy, Wendy, are you here? Wendy, I want to make sure before I move to our closing. Wendy, are you
More
here?
credit.
Okay. All right. Wendy Butler's not here. Who do you say? Who did you say?
Credit? I didn't know if credit was here.
All right. Credit, credit, credit. All right. So it's left to you. Let's do it. You and
All
I.
right. Well, I'm the third ninja. Listen. Hey, here on Chatter Social, we do have a great podcast that I guess I'm promoting tonight. It's they're called the Rainmakers Power Hour, and it's on. You're going to find that in Wendy Butler's channel, Money Mindset Matters. And then we take that podcast that we do here live exclusively on Chatter Social, and we boost that out every single week. And so you'll find an episode live there. So you guys, when if you're looking for topics as it pertains to business, crypto, investing, real estate, and some really cool, fun ladies to talk about it. We're going to bring a lot of fun folks to you. So, anyway, thanks for the shout out, John.
Should I have said, Jonathan, that the channel name or the
Yeah,
group name
sure. Yeah.
is Across the Pond?
Across
So
the pond is what you.
Across the Pond,
That's
yeah.
exactly
That's
what
my
you should have
channel name.
said. That's where you find Euella across the pond here
Across the
on
Pond.
Chatter Social.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity to tell the people.
No, guys, that's what we're here for. We're here to support and make sure. Guys, with that being said, we have come to the end of this portion of our show. Of course, we're going to have the after show and the lounge where we're going to talk everything. So, with that being said, folks, I want to thank you, each and every one of you guys, for coming out. And for you at home that's listening to the podcast, thank you for downloading an episode and taking your time and listening with us. So we will be back again tomorrow with a different episode, different title, different topic. Until then, guys, hey, go and debate the news with your friends and family, guys. Love you guys. And we will see you back here tomorrow, guys. Same time, same channel on Chatter Social and Debate the News. Thank you.